Hi, welcome to Healing Humanity. My name is Dina, and I want to talk to you today about love in the fire. So, when I was going through all of this craziness over the last 8 or so years, I I met so much opposition to everything that I wanted to do. And I was led in a certain way, and then as soon as I go that way, I was redirected in another way. Just so much confusion, right? Purposeful confusion. And it started me thinking, like, what kept me going? What really kept me going? Well, first of all, when you are working for God and when you're working for the betterment of all, you have to think about all is inclusive of those people that still don't want to see you succeed. Um, and as sad as that sounds, it's true. The Bible tells us to love our enemies, to pray for our enemies. And I had to learn to do that. When I was younger, that would not have been the case. When I was younger, I'd have torn you apart, whether, if not physically, it definitely would have been verbally. Um, but I had to learn because I didn't know, because there were so many people involved, I didn't know who truly was my enemy and who was not. There was so much confusion, fake friends, lies about family members, lies about many different things, fear mongering, um, so much oppression that was built into my life, or purposely built into my life. There was no one to look at and finger point to. There was no one that I could truly get in your face and say, you're doing wrong and this needs to stop. So the best way for handling the oppression, the fear mongering, the poverty, the just the darkness that comes over people when they start to walk in their ego, when they start to walk in their pride, when they allow their arrogance to take over their life, when they allow their mission to overtake any kind of humanity, you have to stay stronger than that. You have to be stronger than their ego. You have to stay stronger than their false identities. And some of them are pretty strong. I'm not going to lie. Some of them are really strong. You see, I've been in rooms, and I've said this before, I have put myself into some pretty big rooms with some pretty big people, pretty powerful people. And I built respect with those people. And I did so by treating them respectfully, listening to them, but also not showing up in a way that was weak-minded. And I didn't show up in a way that was submissive to whatever their whims were. So that's not my personality, right? But to get through what I went through the last 8 years has been truly, truly a horrendous ordeal. It has been humbling, which apparently has been a lot of the goal was to humble me, which it did, but not in the way that people thought. You see, it's important to bring the light of truth into the darkness. It's important to stand your ground. It's important to never surrender to people that are trying to push you around. I watched the movie 1984 again. I read the book when I was a real young kid, and I read it again when I was a younger adult, and then I just watched the movie again just to remind myself of what that was. And I have to say that the things that I went through over the last several years was very much like that. The oppression that you could see in that movie. Thoughts monitored. Places that I went monitored, controlled. People in my life came into my life as false friends. So narratives controlled, lies fed, communication monitored. Like what are we living in? What kind of country are we living in where this is allowed? Where did our privacy go to? Where did our humanity go to? Where we're to love one another, to help one another, to uplift one another. Because honestly, I believe that whatever this program is that somebody has put me in, it was initially probably to try to help me to elevate my life, to help me build a business. But what they didn't count on, perhaps, was all of the opposition that was going to be faced over the course of that time. One of the things that I just picked up is some cards that Eckhart Tolle, some sayings that he would share, maybe in his books, maybe in talks that he did. But one is staring me in the face. I want to read this to you. The stronger the ego, the stronger the sense of separateness between people. Now that's so telling for everything that I went through. The only actions that do not cause opposing reactions are those that are aimed at the good of all. And that's where I was coming from. I was aiming for the good of all, but that is not where my opponents were coming from. They are inclusive rather than exclusive. They join, they do not separate. They are not for my country, but for all of humanity. And I'll end it there. Because what I saw was a lot of selfishness, a lot of oppression, a lot of people who felt as if they were due something off of my back when I don't even know you. I'm a very giving person, but when you interject yourself into my life and you think you're owed something from me, you got a sad, sad story you're telling. Because that's not what's going to happen. I know how to turn the brakes on just as fast as I know how to hit the accelerator. And if you haven't figured that out, that's what's been happening. I'm not going to hit the accelerator and do anything that's going to uplift anyone who has sent this kind of oppression, this kind of fear and poverty and coercion and lies into my life or into the lives of the people that I know. Breaks. We need to get back in this country our privacy. We need to take the cameras out of every store that we enter into. We need to start walking in truth. And to stay in love. You know, I'm not going to argue and fight back because that's not going to do us any good. I'm going to love you. I'm going to pray for you. And I have. And I hope my prayers reach God, and I hope that, you know, He's understanding of what's happened over the last 8 years or 9 years. I really do. You know, when we give in to our selfish desires, that's when everybody starts to suffer. When we put our desires or our family's desires above everybody else's, that's where we hurt people. And that's what's happened. There are people walking this earth that believe that because they understand some, you know, ways to control situations or ways to control people, that gives them the right to do so. But it doesn't. It's time to get back to the truth, which is to love one another, to treat one another with respect and kindness. You know, there's a quote that says, someone is sitting in shade today because someone planted a tree yesterday. And I want to be that person planting those trees. Don't you? Don't you want to be that person that can walk into a community and love someone who is not doing the right things, But continue to stay in love. Plant that tree. Allow them the shade to cover them, to love them. It seems so opposite from everything that we go through in this world, especially like in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder 11 days ago. They're having his funeral today. I feel so badly for his wife, and I feel so badly for him, because all he wanted to do was to share the truth with people. All he wanted to do, not only share the truth with people, but to open up communication with people, to get them to start thinking critically about what the truth is, rather than what they've been fed. We've got to remove ourself from the picture right now. We've got to remove our own personal desires when we are trying to fight for our country, fight for our safety, fight for our children, fight for a future. You know, everybody thinks, they talk about online a lot about the chosen people, right? And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. We are all chosen people. Every single one of us. But you have to choose God too. You have to choose Him equally as much as He chooses you, if not more. You know, they think that because you have this light inside you that you're on a path to riches and fame. And perhaps maybe that's the case. I don't know. But it comes at a price. And it comes at a big price. But God puts love in your heart that you will love people through even the darkest moments. And not a lot of people without the love of God can do that. I know when I was younger, I couldn't have. There's no way. There's no way. I was so angry. I was so somewhat judgmental. I was never really selfish, but I definitely didn't put up with like manipulation. And the thing is that, you know, now people are trying to manipulate their way into positions that they don't belong. You know, if you can't choose Jesus, if you can't choose God, you can't choose a righteous path, what makes you think that trying to climb on my back, that's going to get you there? It's not. You have to walk in love just the same as I did. You have to learn your lessons just like I did. You have to face your devils just like I did. You have to face your fears just like I did. You have to face yourself just like I did. And it's a hard road. It's not an easy path. You have to love other people. You have to love yourself. And you have to learn to walk in that on a daily basis. To be understanding, to not have fear, to want to help others, to allow God to lead you where He wants you to go. You know, like Charlie Kirk did. You know, one of the things he said, one of the quotes that people are sharing about him is that he said he wanted to be known for his good works for his faith. And boy, is he ever. You know, there are hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of people meeting in stadiums all across this country right now to honor Charlie Kirk's mission, to honor what he did with Turning Point USA, to honor what he did to help this country, to turn things around in this country, to honor his wife and his children, his 2 children, and to honor his mission to target young boys who are just being fed negativity and lies, and to share the truth of the gospel with them, and to share what he learned when he was a very young boy. He was here to to not worry about himself, but he was here to worry about all of humanity. And although he may not have said that, that is exactly what he did. He's been an amazing role model for people. And although he did make, a lot of arguments that some people didn't always agree with, that's not what he was here for. He wasn't here for you to agree with him. He was here for you to debate him, to understand, to open the communication, to hear what he had to say and share the truth as he understood it with you. And I guess that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm sharing the truth as I understand it with you. And trying to stay in love and trying to stay in the light and, make sure that I worry about, staying whole, staying above all of that, staying like in the truth, staying in the communication, staying in love, and all of that with cooperation, with collaborating with people that have the same desire that I do, to heal people, to help people. We're all here to grow. We're all here to learn. We're all here to love. But it's up to us to choose it.